you were in the headlines yesterday because you proposed a con-con. And as you probably know, Filipinos are generally very allergic to that term. You did make 5 proposals. The first one, of course, forthwith to change that word so as to not confuse anyone down the line in the future. Also, stuff on tax exemptions, presidential amnesty, term limits, as well as the construction or the members of the JBC. Are these the only 5 changes that you're looking to make?
I just cited those 5 instances as examples of why the Constitution needs updating and correction. Because these 5 instances here have resulted in a lot of litigation in the Supreme Court. But they're mainly, problems in terminology. They are due to a confusion between whether or not our legislature is unicameral or bicameral in that constitution. We all know we are bicameral, but the wording in the constitution does not recognize that. Many instances you're going to see a provision for voting of a certain way, which appears to be addressing itself to a unicameral body, which we are.
Party-list representatives, for instance,
Yes,
was meant for a unicameral system.
that's right. That's one of those. Well, again, there are many. I think if I had gone through all the individual examples, it would have been a very long speech. But I think that is something for a constitutional convention to look into. We all know that the 1987 Constitution was premised on a unicameral legislature in the beginning. And then in the later parts of this, and this is what is related to us by the framers of the Constitution themselves, they say that there was a shift, a sudden shift to a bicameral legislature. And they addressed that particular clause in the Constitution. But I guess they forgot to update every other clause in the rest of the Constitution for time constraints or whatever. And they have remained there until now, for 48 years now. These inaccuracies, these contradictions have remained there. And of course, that needs to be corrected. We cannot live with this forever. It's going to continually confuse everyone and make all these processes very difficult. So that's what we are trying to do here.
But how do you plan to make it more palatable to everyone? Minsan at the very mere mention of con-con, everyone gets scared, propaganda starts spreading. Do you have a kind of a plan on how you're going to pull this off?
A constitutional convention is organized in 2 steps. The first step is the House and the Senate have to file a joint resolution which will be approved by 2/3 of each member, 2/3 of each house. So 2/3 of all members of Congress and 2/3 of all members of the Senate are going to have to vote in favor of calling for a constitutional convention. Once that is done, a law has to be filed and considered by both houses as to how this constitutional convention will be organized. Now, in the past 47 years, and with every president that we have had who has wanted to have a constitutional convention or some form of constitutional reform, we never got to the first step. Nobody ever got to a point where they needed to discuss what kind of form a constitutional convention would take. Now, I personally believe that when we come to our suggestions on how it will be formed, how it will be composed, that we will be able to find a suitable form that will, I guess, address the fears of everybody. So specifically, from the Senate, for example, there's always a negative response from them because historically, there's always been a suspicion that there will be an attempt to abolish the Senate if any convention at all is called. There's also been a suspicion that the term of office, for example, of the president and other national leaders are going to be amended to allow people to perpetually remain in office. Now, I think if we are going to find a way in the mechanics of that convention so that the Senate will be able to actively participate and decide on the issues there as if they were doing so on a constituent assembly basis, which is, they actually review and actually audit and veto everything that's going to be done there. They might agree to this. So Chief Justice Ronaldo Puno has said that there may be room to consider a hybrid constitutional convention. The example he gave was maybe we can have some members who are elected and some members who are appointed. Now, I would go further, no? I think if we're going to start talking about a hybrid convention, maybe we can talk about a constitutional convention that mirrors our legislature, that mirrors the way we vote on things and the way we deliberate and decide them. Specifically, I might propose that we should have a constitutional convention with two chambers, an upper chamber and a lower chamber, similar to our Congress today. And I think if we go that route, we might be able to satisfy some of the doubts that people have with respect to how propositions are going to be considered. And of course, this will involve a lot of discussion, both with our representatives in the House and the senators that might be involved in this. I have heard that Senator Kiko Pangilinan has just taken over the Constitutional Amendments Committee in the Senate. We are very happy to hear that because, of course, Senator Pangilinan is an accomplished lawyer. He has been a legislator for long. And I believe that he is going to be able to help devise, if he wishes to, a constitutional convention that will assuage the fears, not just of the Senate, but of the people in general.
But Congressman, what was the initial reaction like from your colleagues at the lower house? And do you already see strong support building across party lines?
I think I'm seeing an open mind across the board now. To be honest with you, when I started discussing this idea, people thought I was not serious. I did not get very good reaction in the beginning. But after I think I started explaining everything, people started to have a more open mind about it. When I made that privileged speech in the Congress, I was surprised at the reaction.
You know, Congressman, because the nation has been debating pros and cons of procedural things. And I guess this has really opened the minds of people because there are obvious it's not unclear. The lack of clarity has led to this confusion and polarization, perhaps, you know?
Yes, yes. I think so. And it's coming at a time when, and this was not intentional, by the way, it's coming at a time when, for example, the barangay elections are an issue. Until today, we are not sure whether there will be elections here or next year.
Yeah.
And of course, the laws have been passed. They're now waiting for a decision from the president. They can either be approved into law, they can be vetoed, or they can be allowed to lapse into law if the president does not do anything about it. But you know, that law increases the term of office of congressmen to 4 years. So many people are wondering where this is coming from. Everybody has either a 3-year term or a 6-year term. What is the point of suddenly giving them a 4-year term, which will now prevent a synchronized election for the barangays with any set of officials? So, and that is possible because of the failure of the Constitution to specify a term of office for barangays. Now, what's to prevent the 21st Congress from changing this once again? Because every single Congress has changed this since, I believe, 2011, you know. So, again, even with this new law changing the term, changing the dates of the election, there is no guarantee that this will last longer than 2 years. So this is the problem here. We are electing people who don't know how long they will remain in office, and the electors don't know when they're going to be able to judge these officials that they have elected and determine the accountability of these officials. So this is a sad time, but it's happening now.
How will you sell it to the Senate now nag-aaway kayo?
Yeah, and that is the other thing. You know, I was saying that, you know, and this is not just me. Even Father Anilo Aquino of San Beda, who is a constitutional expert, has also said that, you know, this is probably the worst time when you see there is dissension and a competition, you know, acrimony between houses of the same Congress, you know. And normally, you know, this does not happen.
Right.
Only the first time, I think, in our history that there is this degree of animosity between the Senate and the House. And it's so sad. It's unfortunate that this is happening.
Well, baka kayo na pwede mag-repair. I mean, you served 2 presidents, is that correct? 2 or 3?
Well,
2 lang.
directly, yes. But I have been, since President Ramos, I think I have been in some role or whatever in the government.
If you want this to push through,
I hope that people will support this. I understand the misgivings that people have, the fears that they have, the suspicions about the public officials always doing what is self-serving and contributes to their own to their own future. But I think that there are enough people now. The 20th Congress is full of very young congressmen. I think that maybe in the reaction that I saw after the speech that I made in Congress, I think that people are beginning to have a wider view. They're beginning to I think, look at more things, not just the normal day-to-day that a congressman would look at, no, budgets and things like
but
that.
if I may interrupt, Congressman, you did not include political dynasties. Was that intentional, or are you?
Says that is a very difficult issue to be dealing with, and I think that maybe a constitutional convention is the one that should deal with that.
You
Yeah.
would sell it better if you had put that in. No?
I don't think I would have come up with a final solution to that problem, and I don't want people to think that we are organizing this effort for a constitutional convention for specific amendments that we want to introduce. We do this so that there will be a platform, a vehicle.
Totoo yan, Congressman. Alam mo naman, we've passed. The reason why people are allergic is because there were, hidden agendas behind moves to amend the Constitution. There was even an attempt to do it by
A People's Initiative.
People's Initiative, if you recall.
Yes, I believe last year. Well, the People's Initiative, I think, was basically an attempt to distinguish or at least determine whether voting in the legislature should be jointly or severally. So I think that was a direct threat, no, and a direct challenge to the Senate, I think. So that is why they responded in that fashion. They hit back hard.
No, also during the time of FVR.
The
yes,
Pirma Initiative.
yeah. Well, all of those earlier initiatives, they came very soon after our revolution of 1986. So people were still a little bit more simplistic then. They thought that, the way to change government and to get redress for their grievances was to go to the streets. I think after 40 years, people are a little more sober now. We realize that there are other ways of resolving our differences, other ways of moving forward in the things that we need to do. And that is good. And I'm hoping that that kind of spirit will enter into this discussion on the Constitutional Convention that we're going to
there is the suspicion that because Speaker Romualdez cannot win in a bicameral form of government, that you will form a unicameral government. There is that suspicion.
Where he will be Prime Minister,
Yes.
to be specific.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he would be able to do that with President Marcos still around in the first place. But, again, yeah.
Why not? What do you mean?
Well, there's seniority in the party and all of that. But, there will be those kinds of suspicions. And I understand that. It will be very difficult to convince people that that the intentions for this thing are positive, and that what we want to do is provide a forum and a vehicle for people to actually address these issues that I think need to finally be addressed. No? Maybe there is a way in the mechanics of the Constitutional Convention that we will devise, in the hybrid form that we will put in place, that will prevent these kinds of matters coming into the order of business of the Constitutional Convention. I don't see why we cannot like precisely limit it once that law is filed, And I intend to propose that law, this, in jointly with members of the Senate, hopefully, and with other members of the Congress. Maybe in determining the form and the extent of the Constitutional Convention, we can put in safeguards that will prevent all of these kinds of suspicion from coming through. If we can do that, I think there is a good chance this convention will happen. If we cannot, obviously, it's going to be an exercise in futility.
You're willing to try, put your energy behind it.
Oh, absolutely. I think really after so many years, in the government, I think this is something that has been a recurring problem with every administration, the difficulties in the Constitution. I think one day I'm going to start counting how many cases have been filed in the Supreme Court that emanated from an unclear provision in the 1987 Constitution, and there are many. But I think it's a worthwhile cause. And for myself, I think I need to go to the deeper causes of problems in our government and in our society beyond the normal, no? And I think this is something that has been very difficult to deal with. People have been afraid to touch it. And, the chances of success here are not great. But I think the challenge is good. And I believe I think right now, I believe in the openness that people will be showing, that they have shown so far to me in Congress at least. And
We're running out of time, but one last question. What does the Makabayan Bloc have to say about it? Are they opposed?
I haven't frankly discussed this with them. I will be reaching out to them, obviously, and everybody else in Congress. I hope they will join us here. We're going to go to all parties of different persuasion in the House, and hopefully we will come up with a common stand. And then I will go to members of the Senate and reach out to them as well. And I hope as well that we will be able to convince them for the good of the people.
We thank you for talking to us. House Deputy Speaker and Antipolo 1st District Representative Ronaldo Puno.